Hours after dropping real bunker-buster bombs on Iran's underground nuclear facility at Fordow, the U.S. has now threatened to hit India, Russia, and China with economic bunker-buster tariffs. A new bipartisan sanctions bill has proposed 500% tariffs on all U.S. imports from nations that keep buying Russian energy. India is in the direct line of fire, as it remains one of the biggest buyers of Russian oil amid the ongoing Ukraine war. Republican Senator Lindsey and Democrat Richard Blumenthal introduced the Sanctioning Russia Act of 2025. The bill aims to crush Russia's war chest by targeting its biggest energy customers, chiefly India and China. Graham called the bill an economic bunker buster, aimed at detonating the financial lifelines of Putin's war machine. If passed, the bill will impose automatic, sweeping sanctions not only on Russia, but also on its key energy trade partners. Trump's administration, however, is pushing back, warning that the bill could derail diplomatic efforts to end the war. Despite Trump's concerns, the bill enjoys strong bipartisan support, with 84 Senate co-sponsors reportedly backing the measure. Earlier, Graham had warned India and China that if the bill got through, they would have nobody to blame but themselves. The bill's backers argue that soft diplomacy has failed, and that only economic shock therapy will bring Russia to talks. Notably, India is the U.S.'s top source of generic medicines. Tariffs could spike drug costs and risk shortages in American hospitals. Some worry that the economic pain could fall more on Americans than on the countries the U.S. is trying to pressure. Trump himself has previously rolled back steep tariffs after public backlash over inflation and market volatility. The U.S. still imports enriched uranium from Russia, raising questions about how far it can really isolate Russian energy. India is also in trade talks with the U.S., but disputes over agricultural imports and GMOs have slowed negotiations.
Thank you. I'd like to be recognized to make some comments about the conflict we're watching unfold on our television between Iran, Israel, and now the United States. Someone asked me, what is this talk all about? I think a good title would be, what is this all about? To the American people, what is this all about? Let me tell you what it's all about. It's all about religion. A fanatical strain of Shiism is now in charge of Iran, and they have three goals: to purify Islam, and about 80% of Islam is Sunni. Saudi Arabia is the center of that part of the religion. To purify Islam in the image of the Ayatollah, to destroy the Jewish state, to drive us out of the Mideast because we're infidels. This is not a democracy, it's a theocracy. And if you got any time on your hands, go on the internet and check out the theological basis of this regime. You would understand why Israel has to get this right as well as we do. But it was not always that way. Iran is not inherently a radical group of people, a radical place. As a matter of fact, it is a very cultured place. It used to be one of the real pearls of the Mideast. So before 1979, Iran shared intelligence, had economic ties, and military cooperation with Israel and the United States. This is from 1950, where Ben Gurion, the founder, the first president of Israel, is talking to an Iranian diplomat in Jerusalem. And Iran had a very vibrant Jewish population. So it's not always been this way. So what happened? They had a revolution. In 1979 to 1981, there was an uprising in Iran that led to the installing of the Ayatollah as the leader of Iran. the first Ayatollah Khomeini, and now we're on the second one, Khomeini. Now, what is this thing all about? These are students pouring over the U.S. Embassy. And our embassy personnel, 50 American hostages, were held for 444 days by these nut jobs. They were subjected to intense physical and psychological torture throughout their captivity, such as mock executions, beatings, solitary confinement, and very bad living conditions. So, this is what they did when they took over. They came after us, held our people hostage, and treated us very brutally. In 1984, the United States made Iran a state sponsor of terrorism under U.S. law because of the way the Iranian regime under the Ayatollah was conducting himself. They were wreaking havoc throughout the region, and they were doing things against Israel and the United States that justified their designation in 1984 as a state sponsor of terrorism, and that has not changed. Now, why are they state sponsor of terrorists? Because they're terrorists, and they support terrorists. Hezbollah, $700 million we project was given to Iran by Hezbollah. It's almost their entire budget. They're a terrorist group, mainly in Lebanon, of the Shia branch of the tree. Hamas, who conducted the October 7th attack against Israel. Israel projects that 93% of Hamas's military budget came from Iran. And we have the Houthis. All of their missiles and rockets came from Iran. We've got Shiite groups in Iraq funded by Iran. Now, why are they a state sponsor of terrorism? Because they sponsor terrorism all over the world, and they did it with petrodollars from the Iran nuclear deal and other sources of revenue, which was a really bad idea, and that's why Trump pulled out. Here's the reporting over the period here. Hamas-Iran alliance. Captured documents expose decades-long terror funding. So when Israel began to liberate Gaza from Hamas and drive out Hamas terrorists, they found a treasure trove of documents showing the history between Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran, suitcase stuffed with cash. U.S. flow of funds to Yemen to help the Houthis. What else have they done other than funding terrorist groups? They've threatened to kill American officials. President Trump, Brian Hook, General McKenzie, Robert O'Brien, Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, all these people involved in the Soleimani attack. Now, why did we go after Soleimani? Because he was the leader of the more radical elements of their military that had been targeting Americans, and he was planning to attack our forces in Iraq, and Trump took him out. 1983, Beirut barracks bombing, Hezbollah supported by Iran. Khobar Towers bombing in Saudi Arabia, terrorist groups supported by Iran. That's why they're terrorists. They have been coming after our interests. They've attacked our shipping in the Red Sea, the Houthis have, and they couldn't fire one missile without Iranian support because that's where all their rockets come from. Now, some cast of characters here. The recent new president was sworn in Iran. During the swearing in of the Iranian president, the crowd started chanting, "Death to America, death to America," during the swearing in of the new president not long ago, July 30th, 2024, not quite a year ago. So people wonder what they're up to. Let me tell you what they're up to. They're up to enacting a religious agenda that has no place for anybody but them. If you're a Christian, they want to destroy your faith. If you're Jewish, they want to wipe you off the planet. And if you're a Muslim and you don't agree with them, which most don't, they want to take over the entire faith and make you bend the knee to their view. These people are religious fanatics. What is this all about? Religion. Do you want any of these people to have a nuclear weapon? I don't. They're religious Nazis. Now, are there any telltale signs that may tell us what they're up to? Do you really have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure this out? This is a missile in Iran. In Hebrew, it says death to Israel. This is the friggin' missile they took a photo of. In Hebrew, said death to Israel. Wonder what they want to do with that missile. If you're confused about this regime, you should not be allowed to drive because you're a danger to yourself and others. If you think this is not our conflict, you've missed a lot. You've been like sleep at the switch since 1979. You don't know anything about these people. You're talking gibberish. If you don't think this is our concern, look what they've done. They've attacked Americans. They have American blood on their hands. They're trying to build a nuclear bomb. And one of the targets is us. How do I know that? Because that's what they say. Last July, they were chanting death to America while they were swearing in the president. We don't do that here. Why? Because we're not crazy. These people are crazy.